Welcome to the lecture series of C and C++ programming under EPG Pathshala. Today we will start with module C++ program structure. Computer is just a processor, but we as a user will not be able to write processor instructions. So we use C++, which is a high level programming language, to write the programs. The basic advantages of writing the programs in C++ will be: first one, conciseness. Here C++ provides some powerful shorthands to write the programs. Second is maintainability. C++ being the object oriented programming language, maintaining the code becomes easier. And the third one is portability. C++ programs are very portable, and it is an advantage of C++ that it can convert the code to any kind of processor. To write the C++ programs or to learn any programming language, the best solution is we have to write the lot of program codes. We have to just write it, test them on the machine and see what is the result. To write the programs on the machine, we require the following things. We require the editor where we can type the C++ source code. Second, we require the compiler which will convert our program to the machine level language program. And the third, we require the linker which will link the different modules of the program and execute the programs. The third one is a debugger to modify, or if there are any errors into the program, we need to debug them using the debugger. Now let's start with our module program structure. C++ is a high level language. When we write program in it, the shorthands are sufficiently expressive that we don't need to worry about the details of processor instructions. C++ does give access to some lower level functionality than other languages. The compilation process takes source file and gives the object file. Object files are intermediate files that represent the incomplete copy of the program. Each source file may represent a piece of the program, so when it is compiled into an object file, the object file has some markers indicating which missing pieces it depends on. The linker takes these object files and the compiled libraries of predefined code that they rely on, fills in all the gaps and spits out the final program, which can then be run by the operating system. The compiler and linker are just regular programs. The step in the compilation process in which the compiler reads the file is called parsing. In C++, all these steps are performed ahead of time. Before you start running a program, in some languages they are done during the execution process, which takes time. This is one of the reasons C++ code runs faster than any code in more recent languages. C++ actually adds an extra step to the compilation process. The code is run through a preprocessor which applies some modification to the source code before being fed to the compiler. In this module, we will see the complete process of compilation. We will see more of input and output operators. We will see many small programs with input and output classes. Now let's start with the objective of the module. Learn the program structure of C++. Study about input operator. Study about output operator. Get familiar with cascading of input and output operators. Understand about compiling and linking. Study about scope resolution operator. Understand this pointer. Now let us see the general structure of C++ program. A computer program is a sequence of instructions that tell the computer what to do. The most common type of instruction in a program is the statement. A statement in C++ is the smallest independent unit in the language. In human language, it is analogous to a sentence. In C++, statements are written in order to convey to the compiler the task that is to be executed. Statements in C++ are terminated by a semicolon. C++ is a programming language, so it follows a predefined structure. The program is divided into many sections. A C++ program can be developed from a basic structure. The general structure of C++ program with classes is also called overview of a C++ program. It is as follows. The documentation section is the first section. It consists of heading and comments. The heading can be specified using comments. Comment statement is a non-executable statement and it can be defined either by using the single line comment or multiple line comment. The single line comment can be given with 2 slash lines as shown in the example. and the multiple line comments can be given using /* your complete line of comments and at the end star and slash. The next section is the compiler preprocessor statements. These are also optional statements but becomes compulsory if the compiler has include and lib subdirectories in the specified drives of TC++ or having any name. The pre-compiler statements are of two types. They are link section and definition section. In link section, it is possible to link the compiler function like cout operator, cin operator, square root, fmod, sleep, clrscr, exit, strcat, etc. with the include subdirectory having header files like iostream.h, konya.h, math.h, dos.h, string.h, ctype.h, etc. These are very useful during the compilation and linkage phase. Syntax: #include in angular brackets the name of the header file. Example: #include in angular bracket iostream.h or #include in angular bracket konai.h. The definition section is used to define a variable with its value. The define statement is used to perform the task. Syntax: #define variable name and value. Example: #define pi, that is a pi variable and the value is 3.142, or #define a100 or #define name Tom. Here now the constants has been defined, pi with the value 3.142 or a as a variable with value 100 or name as a variable with value 10. These values cannot be altered during the execution of the program. The next is a global declaration section. This section can be used to declare some variables before starting of the main program or outside the main program. These variables are globally declared and used by the main function or subfunction. These variables are called as global variables. The global variables are automatically initialized with 0, hence there is no chance of garbage value. The syntax is data type and the variable names. In the above syntax, the data type are of built-in data types such as integer, float, character, double, etc. And variable 1 to n is a list of global variables. For example, integer a, b, c, semicolon, or float x, y, z, semicolon. Here 3 variables a, b, c will be declared as integer, which are global variables, so main or any user defined function will be able to access them. Next is a class declaration or definition section. A class is way to bind the data and its associated functions together. A class is an organization of data and function which operate on it. The combination of data members and member functions constitute a data object or simply an object. It allows data and functions to be hidden if necessary from external use. When defining a class, a new abstract data type can be created that can be treated like any other built-in data type. The general syntax or general fall of the class will be seen in the next slide. The class syntax declaration is the class, then the name of the class, opening braces. In class there are 3 modes that we are going to apply. Those are private, public and protected. How to define these variables? After private, the colon and all the data members which are private in that particular class, or member functions which you want to define them as private. Next public colon data members and member functions. Next protected colon data members or member functions. End of the class with semicolon. Then it is integer main, the name of the class and the object name. Here the object of that particular class will be declared, and to access the member functions the syntax is object1 dot member function semicolon or object1 dot member function 2 semicolon, return 0, end of the main function. The class name is mainly the name given to a particular class. It serves as a name specifier for the class using which objects can be created. The class is specified by the keyword class. Syntax: the class, class name. Example: the class circle. Here the circle is the name of the class, and now we can declare the objects of this particular class circle. The data members of the class. These are the data type properties that describe the characteristics of a class. It is possible that any number of data members of any type can be declared in a class. Example, float radius, float area. The functions that are defined in the class are called member functions. Any number of member functions of any type can be declared in a class. The member functions are accessed using the object and the dot operator. For example, void read, or this particular function can be called as a1.read opening and closing bracket. Access specifiers are used to identify access rights for the data members and member functions of the class. Depending on the access level of a class member, the access to it is allowed or it is denied. The three different types of access specifier are as follows. First one is private. A private member within the class denotes that only members of the same class have the accessibility. The private member is not accessible from outside the class. Second, public. The members declared as public are accessible from outside the class through an object of the class. This can be used by anywhere in the main program. C. Protected. A protected access specifier is a stage between the private and the public access. If a member functions defined in a class are protected, they cannot be accessed from outside the class but can be accessed from the derived class in case of inheritance. The members declared as protected are accessible from outside the class but only in a class derived from it. Example, class atom, opening braces, integer number, float cost. Here the access specifier is not declared, so by default these two data members will be private. In a class, if the access specifier is not specified, by default the data members and member functions will be private by default. Second, public, colon, void get data integer a comma float b, void put data, void and the end of the class semicolon. Now here in this particular class atom, we have declared two data members number and cost which are private, and we have declared two member functions get data and put data which are public in nature. The main function is where a program starts execution. In C++, main returns an integer value to the operating system. Every main in C++ program should end with a return 0 statement. Otherwise, a warning or an error may occur. Since main return an integer type value, it is must that return type of the main must be explicitly specified as integer. Syntax, integer main opening and closing bracket. Beginning of the main program, that is left braces, is the beginning of the main program and it will be specified using the curly braces. It consists of object declaration part and accessing member function using the dot operator. The objects of class can be declared inside the main program or outside the main program. A class declaration is used only to build the structure of an object. The data members and member functions are combined in a class. The declaration of objects is same as declaration of variables of basic data types. Defining objects of class data type is known as class instantiation, instance of a class. In C++, the class variables are known as objects. When the objects are created, then the memory is allocated to them. Any number of objects can be created for a particular given class. Objects can also be created when a class is defined by placing their names immediately after the closing braces, as it is done in the following structure. Example, circle C1 semicolon. Here C1 is an object of the class circle. The member functions defined in the class can be accessed by using the dot operator. Syntax, object name dot member function name. Example, C1 dot read opening and closing bracket. In the above example, C1 is an object of the class circle and read is a member function of a class circle, and the operator dot is used to access member functions. The ending of the main program can be specified by using the right curly braces. Now let us see the input operator. The identifier cin is used as a predefined object in C++ that corresponds to the standard input stream. The standard input stream represents the keyboard. The operator which is greater than sign is known as the extraction or get from operator. It extracts or take the value from the keyboard and assigns it to the variable on its right. Example, C in the extraction operator number 1. The above statement causes the program to wait for the user to type in the number keyed in its placed in the variable number 1. Program to implement the usage of the input operator. Integer main, C in, take the value of A from the user, return 0. Now here the value 1 will be taken from the user. We will now see the output operator. The identifier Cout is a predefined object that represents the standard output stream in C++. The standard output stream represents the screen. It is also possible to redirect the output to the other output devices, for example, such as files. The operator less than is called as an insertion or put to operator. It extracts the value from the keyboard and assigns it to the variable on its right. Example, Cout, the insertion operator, C++ is better than C, semicolon. Now let's see the simple program to see the usage of the output operator. Hash include IOStream using namespace std, integer main, Cout, here we are displaying the message using the insertion operator, C++ is better than C, /n, semicolon, return 0. Here the message will be displayed on the screen as C++ is better than C and /n will cause the cursor to go to the next line. Now let's see the program for the usage of input and output both the operators. Here we will start with the program with hash include using namespace std, integer main. Here we will declare two variables, integer a, b. We will take the value of a and b from the user and will display it back. So we are displaying the message to the user as Cout, enter the value of variable a and the /n. Here after displaying this particular message, the cursor will go to the next line. Next is C in a, the input will be accepted from the user and it will be assigned to the variable a. Next it will display the message, enter the value of variable b /n. C in b, it will take the second value and it will assign to the variable b. Now we will display both the values on the screen as Cout, the value of a is a and Cout, the value of variable b is b. Now when the above code is compiled and executed, it will give the following result. Enter the value of variable a, suppose the value entered is 10. Enter the value of variable b, suppose the value is 20. Then it will display the message as value of variable a is 10 and the value of variable b is 20. Now let's see the program to enter an integer and print its value and its value when it is doubled. Now let's start with the main function, integer I. Here we will ask the user the value of I. So we are displaying the message, please enter an integer value. We are taking the value from the user as C in I. Next we are displaying the message as Cout, the value you entered is insertion operator I, Cout and its double is I *2/n, return 0. Now here as you can see in Cout statement we had used the expression I *2 which will double the value of the variable I. When the above code is compiled and executed, it will produce the result as please enter the integer value. Suppose the value is 5, it will display the output as the value you entered is 5 and its double is 10. The multiple use of insertion and extraction in one statement is called as cascading. The cascading of input operator, it is must to ensure that necessary blank spaces appears between different items. The output operator can be combined using the cascading technique as follows. Example, Cout in double quote sum equal to double quotes complete, again the operator sum, again the output operator /n, again the output operator average equal to the value of the average. Now here as you can see we are using the operator as cascading operator. Example, C in number 1, C in number 2. So this particular statement can be written using multiple cascading effect. Now let's see the program for the usage of cascading input operator. Hash include IOStream using namespace std, integer main, Now here we are declaring two variables, integer roll number and float total. We will display the message to the user, cout, enter the roll number and total marks /n. We are now going to take the input from the user as cin, roll number and total. Now we will display back the details as cout, roll number is roll number, cout, total marks is total, return 0 and main program ends. When the above code is compiled and executed, it produces the following result: enter roll number, suppose the entered number is 10, enter the total marks, suppose the total marks is 450, then it will display the output as roll number is 10 and total marks is 450. Now let us see the program to implement the usage of cascading input and output operator. Hash include IOStream using namespace std, integer main. Here we are declaring two variables, integer test number and total is of type float. Here we will display the message to the user, cout the operator, enter the test number, cin operator test number, cout enter the total and cin total. So here we are displaying the message to the user and we are taking the value from the user as test number and total. Now we will display back the value as cout test number is test number, total is total, return 0. When the above code is compiled and executed, it produces the following result: enter the test number, suppose the entered value is 101, enter the total, suppose the entered total is 450, then it will display the message as test number is 101 and the total is 450. Now let us see the program to find or to calculate the area of a rectangle. Hash include IOStream using namespace std, integer main. Now here we will declare three variables of type float, float length, breadth and area. We will take the length and breadth value from the user. So we are displaying the message to the user as cout, enter the length and breadth. We will take the details from the user as cin, length and breadth. Now we will calculate the area as area is equal to length into breadth. Now we will display back the values as cout, the length is length, breadth is breadth and area is area, return 0. When the above code is compiled and executed, it will ask for the value of length and breadth. Suppose the values are 10 and 20, then the area will be displayed as 200. Now we will see the complete program to accept the employee details from the user and display it back on the screen. In employee details, we are going to accept from the user the employee number, name and salary of the employee. We will start with our program. We will see the main function. In main function, we will first declare three variables: integer employee number, character name 30 and the float salary. Here the salary field will be float, the name will be accepted from the user maximum up to 30 characters and employee number is an integer field. Now we will take the input from the user, we will write the statements as cout, enter the number of the employee, cin employee number. Here the message will be displayed to the user and the employee number will be accepted from the user. Now the second thing, cout, enter the employee name, cin employee name. Here the employee name message will be displayed to the user and the name of the employee is accepted from the user. The third, cout, enter the salary of the employee, cin salary. Here the salary message will be displayed to the user and the salary of the employee will be accepted from the user. Now we got the input from the user, we will display it back as it is on the screen. For that we will use the statements cout, the number of the employee is employee number, cout, the name of the employee is employee name, cout, the salary of the employee is salary. Now when we execute this particular program, it will display the message to the user. The first message that will be displayed is enter the employee number. Suppose the employee number entered is 100. Second, it will display the message as enter the employee name. Suppose the employee name is Deepali, that will be entered by the user. The third message displayed will be enter the salary. Suppose the salary entered by the user is 10,000. After accepting this input, it will display back on the screen as the employee number is 100, employee name is Deepali and the salary is 10,000. This is how the program will be executed. We will see the complete program with the class. Header file, hash include IOStream using namespace std, class declaration, class person. Now here the access specifier is public, and the variable declaration, two variables has been declared, name of type character array and integer number. The class ends. The main function integer main. Now we will declare the object of a class person as person P1. Now here P1 is an object of a class person. Now we will get the input values for object variable. So we will display the message cout, enter the name, and the name will be accepted as cin P1.name. Second, enter the number cin P1.number. Here you can notice the variables has been accessed using the object and dot relationship. Now the output will display on the screen as cout, the name is P1.name and the number is P1.number. Return 0 and the main program ends. Now when the above code is compiled and executed, it will ask for the input as enter the name, suppose the name is Deepali, enter the number, suppose the number entered is 100, then it will display on the screen the name is Deepali and number is 100. Now let us see one more program to find the area of a circle using the basic structure of C++ program. Now here we will have a comment program to find the area of a circle using basic structure of C++ program. Then we will have the preprocessor directives link and definition section, that is hash include iostream.h, hash include conai.h, and we are defining pi as a variable with the value 3.142. Now this hash include two statements will be called as a link section and hash define statement is basically the definition section. Now I am declaring one more variable here float r, which is a global declaration section. Now we will start with the class declaration, class circle. Here in private access we are defining the data as float area. In public we are defining the member function void read. In read we are asking for the enter the radius of the circle and we are taking that particular value inside the data member r, and here member function ends. We have a second member function display where we are calculating the area as pi into r and we are displaying back the value as cout, area of the circle is area. The member function ends and the class declaration ends here. Now we will start with our main program integer main. We are starting with the beginning left curly braces. Here we are going to declare the object as circle C1. So C1 is an object of a class circle. Now we are calling two member function using the object C1, C1.read and C1.display. Now in C1.read it will ask the value of r from the user, and in display it will calculate the area and it will display the area on the screen. Now we are going to end with the main program. Now when the above code is compiled and executed, it will ask you for the radius of the circle. Suppose the radius of the circle entered is 7, then it will display on the screen the area of the circle is 153.958. Now let us see how we can enter the C++ program in different operating systems. On the operating systems like Unix and Linux, VI or ED text editor is used for creating and editing the source code. Turbo C++ provides an integrated environment for developing and editing programs. The file name should have a proper file extension to indicate that it is a C++ program, such as .cc, .cpp and .cxx. Turbo C++ and Borland C++ use .cpp, which stands for C++ for C++ programs. The next step is compiling and linking. The process of compiling and linking again depends on the operating system. Under Linux operating system, the G++ command is used to compile the program. Example, at the Linux prompt, suppose if the C++ source code is contained in the file example.cpp, then the compiler would produce an object file example.o and then automatically link with the library functions to produce the executable file. The default executable file name is a.out in Linux operating system. Turbo C++ and Borland C++ provide an integrated program development environment under MS-DOS. Now let's understand the scope resolution operator. Like C, C++ is also a block structure programming language. Blocks and scope can be used in constructing programs. Same variable name can be used to have different meanings in different blocks. In C language, global version of variable cannot be accessed from within the inner block. But in C++, this problem can be resolved by introducing a new operator which is called as : which is named as scope resolution operator. It is used to uncover the hidden variable. The scope resolution operator allows access to global version of the variable and not the local variable declared in that block. It takes the form as follows: : variable name. Now let's see the program which will give the use of the scope resolution operator. Hash include IOStream, integer n equal to 12. Now here n is declared as a global variable. Integer main will start with the main function. Inside that again one more declaration of n has occurred, integer n equal to 13. So we have a local variable n whose value is 30 and we have a global variable n whose value is 12. Now I will try to display both the values on the screen. Cout scope resolution operator n. Here it will print the global variable n whose value is 12. Cout simple n variable. Here it will print the value of the local variable whose value is 13 and the main program ends. Now when the code is compiled and executed, it will produce the following result: 12 and 13, where 12 is a global value and 13 is a local value. Now let us study a special pointer in C++ which is called as a this pointer. This pointer is a special pointer which is a built-in pointer in C++. C++ uses a unique keyword called this to represent an object that invokes a member function. It stores the address of the current object in context. The current object can be referred using this pointer anywhere in the class. This is a pointer that points to the object for which this function is called. This pointer can be used only inside the class, that is only inside the member function of the class, and cannot be used outside the class. It can only be used within non-static functions of the class. This pointer is not modifiable. Assignment to this are not allowed. Now let's see the usage of this pointer. Now here we are starting with the class test. Here we are having one data member x which is private inside the class. In public section we are defining two member functions. One is void set x which accepts one parameter integer x. Now here we are using this arrow x equal to x, the member function ends. The second member function is print which will display the value of x on the screen. Cout x equal to x. The class ends and the semicolon. Now we will start with the main program, integer main. Here we are declaring the object of class test t1. Here we are assigning the value to the variable x. So here we are having one more variable integer x equal to 20. We are passing this value to the setX function as t1.setX inside bracket x. So here the value of x will become 20. Now we are calling the function t1.print which will print back the value of x on the screen, return 0, and main program ends. When the above code is compiled and executed, it will display the following result: x equal to 20. Now let us summarize what we have learned in this particular module. The general structure of C++ program will be consisting of documentation section, preprocessor directives, a compiler directive section consists of compiler processor statement. It will consist of link section to link the compiler functions like cout, cin and so on, and second one is the definition section to define the variable with its value. The general structure of C++ program will consist of a global declaration section, class declaration or definition to declare and define a class which help to bind the data and its associated functions together. The general structure of C++ program will have the main, which is a main function of the program, the object declaration section inside the main program, and accessing member functions using the dot operator inside the main function. The general structure of C++ program will consist of the documentation section, link section, definition section, global declaration section, class declaration or definition. main C++ program function called main, object declaration part, accessing the member function using the dot operator. The operator extracts will take the value from the keyboard and assign it to the variable on its right. The operator, which is called as an insertion operator or put to operator, which will insert the value of the keyboard and assign it to the variable on its right. The multiple use of insertion and extraction in one statement is called cascading. In the operating system like Unix and Linux, VI or ED text editors is used for creating any text editor for creating and editing the source code. Turbo C++ provide an integrated environment for developing and editing programs. The process of compiling and linking again depends on the operating system. Turbo C++ and Borland C++ provide an integrated program development environment under MS-DOS.